What's up, guys? Today I have a book review for you guys. I highly recommend this book. Brilliantly titled. I first saw this book at Tate Modern in London. It's called Read This If You Want to Take Great Photographs. Eye-catching. And I remember looking at it and being like, wow, this is actually a really good book. And then 4 years later, a photography student bought it for me because she said it was helping her so much. And I took a look at it, I bought it, or actually ended up buying it because I wanted a digital version because it was so efficient at explaining all the fundamentals of photography that it was great to use as like a slideshow as part of a review or lecture in class. So I'm going to kind of just go through the book and tell you guys what it covers and why I think it's so good. So each topic takes maybe about a page per point, and it corresponds with a great image. So, for example, look for the leading lines. It's very concise, straight to the point, and then you have a Bresson image that goes with it. I'm going to kind of just go through it and flip through it. I just want to talk about what's in it. Guys, I've been teaching photography for 8 years. Wow, 8 years, and I've been a photographer for a long time. This book had nothing new for me, yet there was something about reading it in such a clear and concise way that has helped me teach. So maybe you're a photographer that teaches and you want to up your game when it comes to teaching, find ways to explain things that may be more effective, because often the most complex way and you can be thorough, but it might not be an effective way to explain things to beginners. So I'm always looking for a very efficient way. So I love how it starts. Start by ignoring everything is what he says. He's basically reminding you guys that a camera is a box with a hole in it. It's oversimplifying, but it's also not. I mean, pinhole cameras are boxes with holes in it. And essentially that's what a camera is. It's a box with a hole in it that you can control the size of that hole, but you also can control the length of which you're exposing your film or your camera sensor to, I should say. Composition talks about how you make an image. Your composition is like your foundation. You need a solid foundation. Everything else is built upon it. Great section on that. Leading lines, he talks about that. I already mentioned it. Talks about why you would shoot horizontal or vertical, which maybe you've never really considered. Keep going. Talks about framing, how you can use elements to kind of frame in a subject. The example, I love the example. It looks like it's from Burning Man, and I'll show it on the screen. But in this example, it's a hula hoop framing the subject. But there's a lot of natural, organic framing techniques you can use, like shooting through trees, brush, etc. The layered look, he talks about how layering images can create more depth. So here you have a very flat but layered image right up here. Look, story time. I don't know if you guys can see it, so if you can't, I'll put it on the screen. When you should get close, do you want to be far away? Do you want to be close up? And why you would make those decisions. So it's not just basics of technique, which he covers. He's also talking about meaning and how you can control the meaning or what you convey in an image with your compositional choices, your lighting choices, etc. Talks about being off-ish is what he calls it. So often having perfect composition can be stale. You want to have sometimes a looser composition. If you look at more modern movies, a lot of them have opted to have looser composition because loose composition can convey something different. Disarray, they want you to be on your toes. But some of the better movies I can think of recently that had perfect composition would be The Master with Joaquin Phoenix. Perfect composition. But it works for that film. Another one was, I'm forgetting the title. It's like my girlfriend's favorite movie. I'll flash it on the screen. But this is a really good example of great composition that isn't so traditional. It's perfect, but not in a traditional way. All right. Make every inch count. He talks about how you can fill your frame with as much as you can in some cases. Reducing it down. So it talks about minimalism, how you can achieve it. I love this page. He talks about throwing the rule book out, not always following the rules. So my take on rules is that you do need to understand photography. You need to master your rules of composition so you know when to use them, when to break them. I think something mistaken for mastery is actually quite novice, is when someone's got a grip on all the perfect elements, but there's no meaning behind why they're choosing it. There was a movie I saw recently, and I can't remember which it was, but it was just very sophomoric. The camera angles were all perfect, and they used a really long telephoto lens to shoot scenes, and it felt arbitrary, basically. It was like, I went to film school, and now I'm going to show it. Like, it wasn't good. Here in the book, there's a great graph explaining aperture, when you would use like f/22 versus f/2.8. I'll hold that up. I have the ebook, and I'm pretty sure I can show it on the screen, so I'll show you guys that. Moving forward. All right, blur, when to use it, why you would use it, techniques for achieving it, such as using tripods, slow shutters, talking about how if your subject is still but things are moving around it, you can get away with a longer exposure, again, if you have a tripod. The example would be from a photographer named Ernst Haas from the 60s, ballerinas in New York, which I've seen a lot of online. Everyone that does it seems to think they're the first, but you guys probably don't want me to go through all this, but I'm going to. Light trails, okay. Big freeze. Okay, so there's a difference. Capturing movement with a very fast shutter versus a very slow shutter will have an entirely different effect. Sometimes you might want to capture every water droplet in action, like from a splash, but sometimes you want that more ethereal look, and that's when you would use a longer shutter. I think having the visuals goes a long way, and that's what I really like about this book. The examples are fantastic. He gets into shallow depth of field. We all know that, most of us. Close-ups, deep and meaningful. Talks about the different, for a beginner, talks about the different modes. So you have your P, you have your auto, aperture priority, and shutter priority. Side note, when I teach this stuff, I don't teach manual shooting the first day of class, and a lot of purists are probably going to be really upset about that. Like, you have to teach that. No, I don't. I have to inspire people first. You inspire them with photography. Now, if there's a lot of hurdles they have to get over first, they're not going to feel inspired. They're not going to want to shoot. I've had so many students say, I got overwhelmed by the controls on the camera, and so I didn't shoot all week. And it's painful. Like, I tell them, you gotta shoot. It's like, how do you get better at hockey? You get better at hockey by playing hockey. Well, same for photography. So I'll leave it at that, because I want to leave some of the book for you guys. I will strongly recommend this book. I wish I got a take of it, but I'm not. Henry Carrol is the author. Read this if you want to take great photographs. So if you guys are enjoying my content, please like and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. I have a new video weekly and sometimes more.